Hello, welcome. Josh here from Racing to Profit. I thought it was about time actually I renewed, refreshed the welcome video for members and just talk through, I suppose, the content and the approach. So I'll jump to it. I'll try and keep this pretty snappy, but I know what I'm like. We're on the homepage there, as you can see, and the login box to the right when you remember. And you can log in, etc. See the members' posts, and if you click the home button, you can see all the various posts going on, including any guest features. I'm going to jump to, as an example, I'm recording this on the 5th of November 2018. I'm going to jump to the post on Saturday, just because it's been and gone, and actually had quite a lot of content in, which covers the general approach all year, really. So here we are. I'm on within the members post, as you can see here. Each post, hopefully you've read through the various different welcome information when you signed up. You should have been emailed. The first thing I will say is the key, which I put and copy and paste into every daily members post. The key is your friend, and hopefully it explains quite a few of the things that are going on. I'm quite aware when you get going and jump in that it can be a bit overwhelming at times, but that is always the point of any kind of long trial or money back guarantee period I do, is the idea is for you to take your time and come to a firm decision on how you may wish to approach the content, and whether or not obviously it's for you or not. So that's that. In the key you can see and read through all the different bits. All the codes are explained for the ratings pointers. I'll get onto those in a minute when I discuss section 1. All the other different symbols, I probably need to update a couple of these links actually on the elite squad. The S1 and S6 explain the strategies, or kind of their strategy symbols. I'll get onto those in a moment. A W1 indicating that a stats qualifier in section 1 won on its last start, and a W2 won 2 starts ago. Probably the most important link if you're starting off is the strategies. Where should you start? And that gives you an idea of a few of the strategies. And I'll jump on today's post actually, and just flick through what is kind of the core portfolio now, and that's one as I speak at the end of up to the end of October, around 403 points profit to 1 point wins. There's a full kind of strategies and jump strategies breakdowns there. Importantly in this game, and I suppose for my own mindset, is I'm always thinking ahead and trying to refresh or think about new approaches and new strategies that we can take towards the stats content. So there's always those that are proven in my mind and have been going for kind of a year or more in live play, and there's those that we're kind of testing and developing as we go on, and some of them may turn themselves into kind of full-time strategies, I suppose, but more of that in a moment. The research articles link, that's where you can find the trainer track profiles report, which underpins section 1 of the stats, plus loads of other different pieces. A few older videos there, and the welcome info link there, which repeats the welcome email you should have had. Some contact details there if you ever need to get in touch with me. You can of course post a comment on any daily post and I'll reply, or of course you can email me in private. So that's the key. That is your friend, and should have every bit of information you need in there really, in terms of explaining what's going on. Each daily members post is split into 4 simple sections, as you can see there, and I'm going to flick through them all quickly. So we have section 1, which is all qualifiers against my stats packs. I research stats for every UK jumps track for the flat, summer jumping, and the kind of main winter tracks, which is what we're getting into now as the flat kind of disappears and comes to the end of their season. I don't do anything on the all-weather at all in terms of stats in this section. So yeah, essentially every horse listed in this section qualifies against the stats in my stats pack, and that's the starting point for all of the strategies that follow. At this point, I will say in general, the general approach is my idea is to try and kind of, well, I love looking at trainer stats, obviously, but find unique research and which fires out different horses that qualify as a starting point first and foremost. Yes, there's the strategies, but everything I do within each daily members post should be viewed as very good research, I think, and kind of horses that qualify against that research. And that's a good foundation for you and I to use those qualifiers in any way we please. And there's various different ways we can do that. I'll get onto the strategies in a moment. But that, of course, covers, when I say that, as I flick through Saturday's post here, section 3, that's the other systematic area. It's called the microsystem test zone. That's where I kind of do non-track analysis, I suppose. Like I said, section 1 is based on my annual research into all the different tracks, and I keep those stats static throughout the whole season, and that's the kind of things I refer to there. The microsystem test zone, I suppose, a bit more fluid when I have new ideas or different angles that I want to test that aren't necessarily track based. The idea with these certainly isn't to back them all systematically off the bat. I mean, for a starting point, there's probably too many horses and too many bets there. That isn't the intention. It's there really to see if any of the angles do develop, I suppose, over time as good systems. But knowing again that you've got a set of horses there that you can use as a way-in for further research if you want, and for myself to use as further research, mainly to see if I want to tip anything. And that's the same for the content across the blog. So that's the kind of systematic stats qualifiers. If I nip back up to section 1, the first thing to say is whatever you do, do not back every horse that is listed in section 1 against the stats packs. I don't kind of research them or design them with that intention, and you would lose a lot of money over time, I think, just backing them all. They are very much researched in mind with some of the strategies, and like I said, that starting point idea in my head. So the strategies is where I'll get on to next. So basically by 6 p.m. the evening before, I will list all the qualifiers that hit my stats pack for the following day. At that point in time, you'll get these little red ratings pointers. So that's where any horse which has hit my trainer track based stats also hits the 3 rating sets I use, whether it's top rated or top 3 rated. And this is where we start to build up information which can help us look at the horse in more depth and, of course, hit some of the strategies. So that's useful information by itself. In the evening before, so you get that, I will add the W1 and the W2 wherever the horse won last time out or 2 starts ago, and I will also add these green GG symbols, which is just a kind of trainer form indicator. In the brackets next to each horse, that essentially all that does is telling you which stat that horse hit in my stats pack. So I know there are some members who like to cross-reference, get a feeling on the different strength of stats and various other things. So that's what you get the evening before. Now at roughly kind of 8 a.m, certainly weekdays, sometimes, well, around 8 to 9 at weekends, I will then go through on the day of racing through every qualifier in section 1. I will add the price, which is generally available. I look at Odds Checker. I don't kind of pick out one standout price with bookmakers that you can't get much on with, the likes of Betfair Sportsbook and a few others. I will take a generally available price, at least with kind of 2-3 main bookmakers, and that's the price I will add at 8 a.m. in the morning. By that point, when I've added the price, we have all the information we need to dictate whether a horse hits a strategy or not. Now, importantly, you don't have to wait until I do that job at 8 a.m. in the morning. Of course, all the qualifiers and information's there the evening before. If you then flick through yourself and have a look at the odds and have a knowledge then of the various different strategies, you can, of course, or you're then free to back the horses in the evening if you want. And I suspect many of the results would be better because some of them, of course, will get backed overnight. But to be fair and to keep a kind of standard, I suppose, for my own results analysis, I take a generally available morning price. It's at that point in the morning, like I said, we then have all the information. And as a kind of pointer and as a helper, I add these black strategy symbols so that if needs be, you can just look in the morning kind of, well, by 8:30 a.m. That will all be updated, and you don't need to think about what horse hits what strategy. I have done the heavy lifting for you, and you can just look and see which symbol they hit, noting, of course, whether the horse is within the flat stats. Of course, that won't be relevant in kind of a few weeks' time, or indeed whether or not it's against the jump stats. And from there, once you've taken the time to work out which strategies you may wish to follow, you have all the information, and if you are following any of them systematically, you can then just bet. Like I said, the main link is the kind of strategies where you should start, and it's been clear the kind of last 4, 5, 6 months which strategies we should be focusing on. I've just flicked over to the document. This is what opens when you click that link in the key. Everything's explained here. Like I said, you can just focus on the black symbols I add if you want, but it is good to know why a horse hits a various strategy. And I'm not going to talk through all of these. You can read through these in your own time and get a feel for why a horse is a certain strategy. But like I said, it's a mix of my stats, trainer stats, starting point qualifiers, a mix of the ratings from the 3 different rating sets, including these W1 and W2 figures, especially over jumps, plus the price, and that influences various different strategies, and you can back them anytime you want. There's strategy 1 and strategy 4 for the flat, strategy 6, which has done very well as a big odds strategy and does best to Betfair starting price. And I think it's important for me to have strategies at Betfair starting price, because if we are all left with no bookmakers left, at least we'll be able to follow some of the strategies there. You can see there I talked through various different results. I'll flick over to today's post on the 5th, actually, where I've updated all of these to the end of October. Then we move into the jump, strategy 1. I am just going to touch on this one quickly. That's, you can see there why a horse hits a strategy. So any jumps qualifier in section 1 has a GG's G1 or G3 symbol next to it. Now the horse qualifies if it's priced 10 to 1 or bigger on morning prices that I enter. As I said, you can do that the evening before, and if a horse is 10 to 1 or bigger across the board, feel free to back it then. All these results will even out over time. You may end up backing more winners, actually, which may have shortened by the time I get round to updating results in the morning. But that's up to you. All the results are based on the generally available morning price I enter. Importantly, the horse also qualifies if it's 11.00, so 10 to 1, or bigger Betfair starting price. Now this covers any horse that drifts, which when I add prices in the morning is shorter than 10 to 1. You can add this, and you can do this at any time you please. So I'm going to jump into a fictitious example. This is the 145 from Hereford. I know the video is cut off half the horses there, but that's not important. What I want to focus on is this Betfair starting price here. Now, if this horse, which is Georgina Joy, this is a fictitious example, doesn't hit any of my stats qualifiers, but I just want to show how you can set a minimum price if you are not sure. I might just minimize this screen, actually, so you can see everything I'm talking about. So yeah, this is the 145 at Hereford. Now, if this horse was a section 1 qualifier with a G1 or G3, it's not. You could, and it was under 10 to 1 on the morning price, you can click on Betfair SP, as I've just done there. Make sure the Betfair SP box is ticked. Look at that. Hopefully you can see that there. That gives the Betfair SP, and you can set the odds limit. If you see this little box in the top right hand corner, set that odds limit, and you can set the odds here to 11, and you can put in your stake. And away you go. You can put in whatever you want and then place the bet, and that bet will only be matched if the horse drifts to a Betfair starting price of 11 or bigger. So that is pretty straightforward and hopefully pretty easy. So that's that. Like I said, you've got the strategies where you should start. There's various other ones that have kind of started over time, may not have done so well and kind of been put on the back burner a bit. But for this year, certainly the year ahead, it's the strategies where you should start link is your friend if you want to back any of these systematically. As I've said before, start betting small, £2, £2.50 bets, and build up over time. Make sure you have adequate betting banks. Some of these strategies have longer kind of low price wins, low percentage win strike rates, so kind of 10-12 win strike rate. They have very good profits, very good return on investment over time, but that does mean with some of them you can get some choppy winning and losing runs. but yes, make sure you've got adequate banks for any of this kind of collection of the portfolio, the way you should start portfolio. I would probably think 200 to 250 points might be adequate if you're backing all of them. But like I said, the idea is that you take the time to look through and to paper trade and to look at what kind of strategies that you might want to back and that suit your own betting profile, your kind of approach to risk, I suppose, whether or not you like losing runs or just care about profit, etc. There's a variety there which suit different approaches and different betting styles. So that's section 1. All the stats qualifiers against my trainer stats pack, all the information you need there, whether they hit various different ratings, pointers, their price, and then whether they hit any strategies, with the idea in mind of all the time that all the information and qualifiers I provide within any daily members post is there for you to use as you please. I'm just going to skip on to section 2. This is where I do any tipping. My daily tips, as you can see here, well, they're minus 12 now. I've been a bit rubbish, really, let's be honest, on the daily tipping front. I've struggled. I'm not quite sure if I've been looking for too bigger odds. The number of places I've found so many horses that have come second or third is a bit frustrating. That gives me hope that I may have just gone through an unlucky run. I clearly need to tighten up, but my profit has always tended to come in spikes, and that will go on a decent winning run, as it did in September, December 2017 when I started kind of the daily tipping, where I made 110 points profit within kind of those few months. It was all a bit mad. Somehow, I'm not quite sure, I haven't managed to repeat that as yet, but I'll keep chipping away. You get my festival big race tips. They've had a very good year, 152 points. Within the free posts, I look at 3 mile and plus and further handicap chases. Many of them big races, a lot of the big nationals. The blog started with me when it was all the free blog, start with me looking in those races, and that's why they live in the free post. But they're about 50 points up for 2018. So the kind of big race tips are about 200 odd points up this year. And you can see here, here's an example of a festival big race tips. That one didn't run so well as the market indicated. So that's that. You get those, you get all my tipping, I should say, is generally done on the morning of racing, weekdays between 8:30 and 9:30 a.m. usually, and the kind of big race festival stuff. Outside of the spring festivals, that's usually we're talking Saturdays really. They'll be up around kind of between 9:30 and 10:30, 11. I should say, for the daily members post between Monday and Friday, I have a 10 a.m. cutoff for all content. Section 1 with all the information you need for strategies is always updated and completed by around 8 a.m., no later than kind of 8:15 a.m. Monday to Friday. So that's all there that you need, and then I get to work on looking to whether I want to tip anything, and that's obviously that's with my own unique approach, and my own tipping stake and everything else. You get a write-up and reasons for why I like anything. There's a new test here which is now actually 8 from 20 and kind of plus 19 points. I've always been a kind of big odds player, and when I say that, I suppose I've had a ridiculous, now I think about it, artificial kind of 8 to 1 or big as my comfort zone. That will remain the case for the kind of festival big race tips, but on the daily tipping front, especially over jumps, I've wanted to get to a position where I actually use my stats qualifiers, going back to everything I just said at the beginning about using them as starting points, actually proving to myself and using my racing knowledge, which is decent enough most of the time, to try and make them work for us from section 1 and section 3. And so far, that's actually proven to be quite good. That's where I'm less strict with the odds, and I'm actually looking more towards the top of the market. So section 2 is the kind of tipping section. Section 3 I've touched on, that's the microsystem test zone. A lot of the research, or all the research for all of those different angles, can be found within the research articles linked within the key. We've got the new fact sheet for 2018-19. This has had a pretty good start in terms of highlighting winners and horses running well. Again, I wouldn't back all of those systematically. They're in the test zone for a reason. They're fresh research. All this research looks good historically on paper, and has good logic behind it. It's quite unique, some of it. But until you're in live play, it's hard to know. But they are very good starting points. And taking a closer look, to whether or not I want to tip anything, and indeed yourself. Of course, the best winner you can back is one where you've used your own research, using hopefully a lot of the information within my members club as your daily starting point of horses, which you can then comb through and actually find out your own bets and work if you want to bet anything. That's quite a fun challenge in itself. Now, section 4, as I rattle through 20 minutes, and I'll try and wrap this up quick. Any general messages and updates, I do all kind of various things in this section, including results updates. I'd like to think I'm one of the most responsive in the industry, I suppose, when it comes to dealing with you, the members. If you have any questions or ideas, I'll look into them. Jeff, one of the members, asked me to have a look at Richard Johnson and Henry Daly, which I did, and you can see the research there. That's all saved now in my horse race base accounts, and those qualifiers from this little micro angle will be posted within the test zone. Importantly, you also get big race trends and analysis. Now, I normally, in the jump season, this will generally look at a big Saturday's racing, and it will be mainly, well, focused, yeah, always focused really on handicaps. Within the members club specifically, I do like to try and look at the big handicap hurdle of the day, and on the kind of Thursday or the Friday morning, I will post up my unique approach to stats and trends analysis, which I use my horse race space software for, and the excellent work that Chris does over at that brilliant site. I'd be a bit lost without that. So you can see there, I always look at the last 10 years, the number of runners in the race over the 10 years. You can get a feel for the value of the stats and the kind of 0 from X stats, which I like. And I try and create a winning profile. Clearly, this didn't work on Saturday, this particular 2-mile listed handicap hurdle. You know what I should have done in hindsight? The race has a smaller number of runners than usual, so I should have been less prescriptive on the stats, but I really should have just focused on the trainers, shouldn't I? Alan King, actually, Necky Henderson, I don't think had a runner, so Alan King had run this race twice in the last decade, and he ended up winning it again. I should have put a bit more focus on his runner, clearly, but I say that with hindsight. Anyway, I then do a short list. I look at the winning profile from the stats that I've researched and the ones that I like, I suppose using my experience of what I put most value on, to get a short list there. Sadly, this year that didn't include the winner. Sodexo Gold Cup. I normally will repeat these in the free post as well, because this will look at a 3-mile or further handicap chase, but in the weeks ahead as I talk, there are going to be many kind of 2-mile 4, 2-mile 5 big handicap chases as well, which might just be kept in the members area, but you will get for members only the kind of big handicap hurdle of the week, and there. Yeah, and there's another race there. So normally 1 to 2 trends races for the weekend, and I'll do that research, like I said, on the Thursday and try and post it up late Thursday or by Friday lunchtime. So that's that. If I flick on to, what am I going to flick on to? Today's members post. Again, all the information there, blah, 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 blah. Tips, any general messages, updates here. For an example, I will keep on top of results monthly, and here we're talking about the strategies. One of my members, Danny, is now keeping spreadsheets for me for the strategies and my daily tips. So we've actually got a proper record there, rather than just my ongoing running profit and loss. And you can see, and you can, I go through results updates there. There's some thoughts there, and I will finish, I suppose, with looking at if backing the where you can begin strategies of flat X6, S6, jumps S1, jumps S2A, win only to Betfair SP, and the other ones within that document, well, they're listed here: flat S1, S4, S6, jumps S1, S2A, S3A, S3A which looks at the elite squad. There, if you read through the Trainer Track Profiles new report, that explains what the elite squad is. Basically, they're the best of the stats, which have at least 10 winners and a 25% win strike rate. And those horses get a ES Plus next to their name. So when I put this horse there, you will know that the stat underpinning that, so Paul Henderson for Turban, all handicaps at Plumpton, that stat over the research period had at least 10 winners and at least a 25% win strike rate. And any horse that's an ES Plus, that is essentially strategy S3A hash. Sorry, that's a lie. I go back. Any horse with a purple elite squad plus is an S3A. Ignore the hash for a moment. They become a S3A with a hash if they have 2 or more ratings pointers next to them. So we have a brilliant trainer stat as a foundation, and then we've got some context on the actual ability of the horse, which is what the ratings look at. And those S3A hash, you can see the results there. Pretty good return on investment so far. 110 bets in 2018 to date, 35 winners, 50 of them have won or placed, plus 55 points. So that's a good angle to focus on. And again, yes, all of those added up, these different strategies there, have won 403 points profit to 1 point win bets in 2018 so far. I mean, I would take that as a result for the whole of 2018. I'd bite your hand off now for that to be the profit pile from those advised strategies in 2019. Starting with £2.50 bets, you know, that's £1,000 profit. £5 bets, £2,000 profit. Start at that level and build up over time. We have all the time in the world. There's no rush. I will finish by saying the worst thing you can do in my members club, which is very unique, it's very different. You've seen those 4 different sections. The whole idea is there's stuff there and content that you can take the time to decide how to approach it. The worst thing you can do is jump in too quickly, betting too much money, hitting a losing run of 20 or 30, which can be possible with some of these strategies, losing faith, going sod it, I'm off. And then the 2 weeks that follow after you leave or stop betting, in comes 50 points profit, in comes the 25 to 1 winner, etc. Please start small, please have adequate banks, and enjoy your racing and enjoy your betting. Of course, you might not want to follow any of the strategies, but they are a foundation there, and as you can read in today's members post on the 5th, the idea is I wanted to create a systematic portfolio that could win you and me at least 100 points profit a year, because betting in £2.55s or 10s, that gives us a good amount of profit as a starting point. It helps, well, it more than covers your subscription for however long you're staying, and yeah, it gives us a good foundation to move on to. I will actually say, as I tick around the 27 minutes, I should just mention the comments. This is probably the bit I'm most proud of, actually. I've created a great community of racing fans, and now it's only a minority that post, but I'm always very thankful for those that do. There's always something of interest to read. I mean, this is just today's example. Chubnut here has pointed us all towards a very interesting article about psychology and betting mindset. Nick's one of our, well, he's been with me since the beginning, I think, in the members club. Superb tipster in himself. Martin, brilliant, especially he tips along with Colin with golf in the free posts, and comes up, well, Andy, sorry, is doing a focusing on US racing as well, actually, and he's done well there, as you can see there, 42 points profit. Tim's started chipping in with some of his ideas. There's various other things going on. Kev's doing his own. He likes his all-weather betting, and you can see there that's a decent running total. He only started a few weeks ago. Martin's chipping in. Stuart finds some very good winners, especially in the jumping game, and he's been doing well, as you can see there. Last week won 14 points profit from his tips, so well done, Stuart. Colin's running a new test, but Colin's one of the regular tipsters, as you can see here. Here's Colin's bets, nice bit of branding. They're over 100 points up to starting price. I don't know how he does it at starting price, so that's someone else you can follow if you so wish. Mike Titus is his username here. He follows my recent losing tips. They normally do quite well on the next start. Now, I tip a lot of losers, but in the last year, I think they're over 280, 300 points profit. If you'd have backed every tip that lost, if you'd have backed it on its next start, yeah, quite a lot of profit there. But he tracks them through the kind of through to their like 10th run, I think. But they've done quite well in their first to third run since I tipped them. Chris M is, again, he's been tipping. When did he start? Start of June, running his own test, and you can see there some decent results tonight. A very solid return on investment of 10%, I think. And yeah, the total there you can see he's nearly approached the 50 points profit mark. I do encourage those who post regularly to do a kind of simple monthly running profit and loss on the prices that they get, just because it allows me and you to decide if anyone, you know, if we want to follow anyone and follow any of the tipsters regularly, etc. So that's probably one of the areas I'm most proud of. because, and many of them are bloody good tipsters, and most of them are better at tipping than I am, especially on the daily front. I still claim to be quite a good festival big race tipster, and enjoy those big races. But that's that. I thought this wouldn't be short. I'm ticking around to 30 minutes. I really should shut up. But hopefully, that just gives you a snapshot and a feel of the members club and the whole idea and the whole approach and the whole emphasis. It's about enjoying our racing. It's about finding unique and different ways to approach the game. It's about being profitable over time, but taking a long-term patient approach. It's about sharing ideas. It's about having fun, and making sure that what is the greatest sport on earth kind of makes us happy, and that we can enjoy it, really. There's a lot of profit. The final thing I will say is there is so much profit to be found within the members club, but please give yourself a patient approach and give yourself time to find it. The most important thing, actually getting used to with my unique approach, is missing winners. We don't back all of the winners. I don't back many of the winners that are flying around, whether my content or in the comments, etc. You have to deal with missing out on winners. What is most important is your own personal profit pile over time from the content in the members club, whatever it may be. So on that note, I will finish. I'll say thanks for watching. Hopefully you found that enjoyable. Or I should say at least useful. So if you have any questions, post in the comments, do email me. The email address is in the key, and I hope, like the many hundreds, well, I don't know what we're on now, about 370, at least 250, 280 have been with me since the beginning of the club 2 years ago. So I like to think we're doing something right. But yes, please give yourself a chance, and hopefully many of you watching this who will be new members are still here in the months and years ahead. But yes, thanks for watching. Like I said, any questions, email me, post away. And until the next time, this is Josh saying bye for now and happy punting.